Hello everyone and welcome to my Facebook Live. In today's talk, I'll be telling you just what I know so far about how your body tries to work against your weight loss efforts and what you can do about it. I have all my show notes right here, so I don't want to miss anything. So I've got my computer here to keep it straight so that we have all the points that I have put down for you. I want to share those with you. My name is Dr. Inaka Yembe. For those of you who don't know me, I am a board-certified family medicine physician, currently working in family medicine outpatient clinic as well as the emergency room here in Louisiana. As a result of my almost 16 years in medical practice, I have touched the lives of thousands of patients. I'm very, very passionate about weight loss, mainly because of my journey, my personal journey, which I will share with you a little bit later on. But today I want to take a closer look about why is it that we can lose some weight. I mean, most people have success in losing 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds. You have success in doing that, but it's just difficult to keep it off. We struggle with keeping it off, and sometimes we even gain it back when we are doing all the right things. That has happened to me personally, and I don't know about you, but listen, if this has happened to you, I want you to give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Also, share this talk or this video on your page so that those who may benefit can watch with you. And what I've been doing recently, as you see, we've got the boot camp, so I've been here working out with you, and very soon you will understand why. But one of the things that I'm also doing is working through the American Board of Obesity Medicine certification. And as I study through the guidelines and several things and information that they have out there for us, it's taught me so many different things, and it's especially has taught me this specific fact: how our bodies and how our hormones downregulate or upregulate when we lose weight. And of course, it makes so much sense that you lose weight and then it's easy to pack it on, but so hard to lose it. I personally am able to gain 5 pounds in a weekend. Have you been there? I'm able to gain 5 pounds, but when I come home 5 pounds heavier after my weekend, it's gonna take me a month or even longer to lose those same 5 pounds I gained in about 4 or 5 days. So one of the things that I've learned, in addition to learning how to not only leverage the tools that we have when it comes to treatment options, but I've learned one specific thing: that obesity is a chronic medical illness. When I say chronic medical illness, I'm not just talking about the medical problems that you can have as a result of. So of course, we know that obesity can put you at risk of having diabetes and hypertension and other things like that. But actually, obesity on its own is a medical illness. I never thought about it until recently. Of course, when you think about a medical illness, especially a chronic medical illness, then you start to think about what are the causes. So within the last few years, I have now come to understand that the causes of obesity are multifactorial. Of course, you can guess that right off the bat, but there are 3 main ones that you must know, and these 3 factors interplay amongst themselves and just make it more difficult for you to lose the weight and keep it off. Number 1 is genetic. You have no control over that. Genetics are here. You didn't choose mom and dad, so you're here and that's it. The second 2 you have control over, and I'm going to share with you some tips and tools and strategies on what you can do to control those other 2 factors. So the second factor is environmental, and the third is behavioral. And so when you are obese, these are some of the causes. You know, when I was overweight, I struggled and I gave up so easily. I didn't understand anything. All I knew was that I needed to work out and I needed to eat less, and that was that. But that's not true. There's several other factors. So think about your environment and think about your behavior. Put that in the back of your mind while I tell you the next thing. So like I said, obesity is a chronic medical illness. And get this, one of the things that happens when you are obese is that you have persistent hormonal and physiologic changes that continuously fight against your weight loss efforts. That concept just blew me away, and it has been studied and demonstrated in the medical literature. So when you gain weight, your brain, specifically the hypothalamus, don't worry about the facts there, but just about the structure, but just say your brain resets itself and tries to keep you at your heaviest weight. That's what happens in our bodies. This study came out in 2011, and it has been proven patients who are studied for even 6 years after still have this brain and hormonal reset. So now the scientists are thinking that this hormonal reset is here with you for the rest of your life. So what do? You've got to work and work hard. But you've got to work in a smart way, and I'm going to give you some tools towards the end. So one of the reasons why I do what I do is just because of my personal story. So for those of you who don't know me, I was born at almost 10 pounds. So it's just like I came into life right here on the obese side. I grew up into an obese child, an obese teenager, on and on into almost my 30s. I had the 2 children, both of them by C-section. Both babies were 5 pounds each. One was 5'12", 5'11", real tiny babies. I gained 80 pounds with baby number 1, another 60 pounds with baby number 2. Of course, I lost a little bit of weight after the first one, and then I gained 60 pounds with the second one. So, it was just a major struggle. You name it, I've done it. Anything that I could get my hand on, over-the-counter pills, just anything, I've done it on and on and on until I got really serious in 2017, and I figured out that, of course, what I was putting into my mouth, and later on, I decided what I was also feeding my brain when it comes to my mindset was really playing against me. And so I changed that. But let's talk a little bit of science here. When you understand how the science comes into fact here, my hope for you is that at the end of this talk, you would come up with one thing that you may change when it comes to just adopting that healthy lifestyle change and maintaining it for the rest of your life. So when you eat a meal, several hormone levels go up, and then they go to your brain and they tell you, hey, look, this person has consumed enough. They try to get you to stop eating. In fact, there's a big nerve that goes from your stomach or from your bowel all the way to your brain. It's called the vagus nerve. It also tries to stop you from eating too much. So again, you've got 2 things that are telling you you've eaten a meal, you've had enough, so this is where you stop. Hormones and that vagus nerve. So if this is true, I start to think, so why is it so hard for me to lose weight then? So now I know that there's hormones and I know that there's nerve, so now what? So there was a study that came out in 2011, and it showed that people who lost weight, actually the satiety hormone levels dropped. I'm thinking, wow, how can that be? How can I lose weight and then it seems like I can eat the same thing and not get satisfied? Does it make sense? I personally am walking around and thinking I'm eating less because I've been doing this for so long. It almost seems to me like I'm not eating as much. I'm telling myself I trained myself, but that's not true. And also, one of the things that your body does is it downregulates your satiety hormone, and then the only hormone that we know that it causes us to eat is a hormone called ghrelin, and actually your body upregulates that hormone. So when you lose weight, there is a change in your reset. Everything resets itself, and those hormone levels are changed backward. So what that means is that where you were at, say, for me, almost 300 pounds. So now where I am today, maybe 100 and something pounds less, my hormone levels are thrown off. Ghrelin is off, and it seems like it should always make me to be hungry. And then the other hormones are there, and it seems like they're telling me that I'm not full, I should eat more. Now, so that's one thing I want you to keep in the back of your mind. The next thing that happens, obviously, we know that there is something called a metabolic reset. We know that. So, of course, you lose weight, then you don't need as much energy, and then your basic metabolic rate drops. But let's look at that a little closely. It's called metabolic adaptation. So studies now show that for every 2.2 pounds that you lose, your resting energy requirement drops about 30 calories per kilo. Ain't that something? So now the hormones are now messed up, and then my basic metabolic rate drops, and I don't require as much energy. That's the reason why I can travel and gain. So of course it makes more sense now. So this is one of the reasons why you see me here on Facebook. I'm constantly exercising. So it's not for anything, and I am not changing in size or weight. I'm still just about the same, even though I'm exercising. So if you lose, for example, 20 pounds, your metabolic rate will be about 300 calories lower, and that's a fact. And I encourage you, for every 10 pounds that you lose, if you're real techie or if you're really there counting your calories, which I don't recommend, but I mean, you should have some idea of how many calories you actually need to eat to lose weight, right? We have to be a little bit somewhat technical. I'm not saying look at it with every single thing. There are some tools that are there at our disposal, like MyFitnessPal. If you're my patient, you're probably linked to me personally through the MyFitnessPal. I see what you're putting on your diary. I can send you a little message there that says, hey, listen, that right there was a mistake or something. But use these tools that we have on hand. They are out there. I'm not saying everybody should be techie, but they are there. But one of the things that will happen is if you lose 1 kilo, which is 2.2 pounds, then your requirement, your basic metabolic rate drops by 30 calories. So I say that because when you lose weight, you need to recalculate your energy requirement, because the only thing that will cause you to lose weight overall at the end of the day is that you are in a caloric deficit. So you should know this metabolic adaptation is a major problem. Some patients have been studied for up to 6 years later, and they still have these metabolic adaptations. So we've talked about the hormone reset that happens backward, and then we've talked about the metabolic adaptation. So now you're asking me, what do I do? What do I do? What does it translate to me in my daily life? Hey, look, I'm glad you asked that question. Remember when I started talking, I talked about the 3 factors that cause this chronic illness. Again, obesity is a chronic illness, not only because it's a risk factor for major medical illness, but obesity on its own is a chronic illness. It has its causes. So looking at the 3 causes of obesity: genetic, environmental, and behavioral. So number 1, throw that away. Mom and dad are here. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. We can't change that. We already have that. So the other 2 factors are under your control. There are some controllable risk factors for every single chronic illness, and obesity is one of those. So since we can't change Mom and Dad, let's look at the other 2. Environmental. Right? Now, number 1, I talked about that last time. Number 1, housekeeping rules. We are starting the boot camp tomorrow. Hey, boot campers, if you're on there, shout out. We'll be talking again in the next 30 minutes, going through our orientation. But listen, your environment is key. You can't go on and sign up for a program or purchase some healthy food and come back to the same things that put you in this position in the first place. So I encourage you to clean your house. For example, if you're expecting a new baby, you prepare the home for the baby. If you're expecting guests for the evening, you prepare the home to receive guests. If you want to lose weight, you've got to prepare your home for success. Clean out that pantry, clean out the refrigerator. Yes, I know you have children. We can all come up with the excuses. For me personally, I have, well, not a little child, but I've got a child. I make sure I buy her 1 serving of whatever she wants, because I don't want to be tempted, and that's it. But I don't like to keep them around the house if they are going to tempt me. You've got to put things in your environment that do not tempt you. That goes also for your social activities, right? You've got to mingle with people who keep you on track most of the time. I'm not saying throw away all your friends now because they're not on the same lifestyle as you, but I'm saying if you go out with the friends that go to the fast food, I don't know where, the restaurant every single evening and eat pizza, drink beer, of course. Your lifestyle, it's not going to matter what program you're registered into. So structure your environment for success is all I'm trying to say. Clean the refrigerator, clean the pantry. And that starts with shopping. When you go out shopping, you've got to be a smart shopper. If you missed the video I had on sugars, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it, hit the notification bell, because I put out a video. I think the manufacturers have, 76 ways of calling sugar when it comes to the label. Sugar is called in so many ways. Listen, when it gets to your body says one thing, it says energy, and if it's too much, it's going to store it as fat. It doesn't matter what you buy, and it doesn't matter what the manufacturers call it. There are 70, it was just mind-boggling. Go to my YouTube channel and watch that video. But you want to be a detective when it comes to purchasing the foods that you're going to put in your body, right? This is the only body you're going to have for the rest of your life. Take care of it. I mean, will you just go and purchase, I don't know, diesel and put in your vehicle and expect it to run down the street smoothly? Why do we put all these things in our bodies? Hey, be a smart shopper. Very important. So it starts with shopping. I also said, surround yourself with the right people that keep you on track on a daily basis. Join a group. Bootcamp is here again. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? If you haven't subscribed, join Bootcamp. We're here every day. It's called Group Power. The power of a group can help motivate you and keep you accountable. Next thing you want to do is know your numbers. You've got to know your numbers. I know people who never weigh themselves and they think that's a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. You should know your weight. You should know your weight. You should know your numbers. You should know your cholesterol. This is the beginning of the year. We want to start on a good foot. The pandemic is here. We've got no control over it. We've left that to the scientists. We've got to do our own part. So the first thing that you must do, if you haven't done that already, go get a physical. The doctors would look at the nice thing called BMI. BMI is not the beginning and the end. So if you're sitting there at home with your app and calculating that BMI and saying, okay, I'm in the correct weight, that's not all of it when it comes to your health. BMI is just one thing that the doctors look at. They also look at other things like your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, but you must know your numbers. Another thing that we can do to be accountable to ourselves is to track our progress. I recommend daily weights. That's a good thing for you to know your weight so you can see and know what's happening when it comes to your own weight. There are several tools that you can use. I mean, there are some scales now that are just digital. They have Bluetooth. You weigh yourself. It uploads your weight into your MyFitnessPal, keeps track of everything. So you just look at it and you know, oh, I'm on track or I am not. But you want to keep track on your progress. We can't go walking around as if we're blind. Our bodies are here. Next thing you know, you have a medical emergency. So it's up to you to keep track of your numbers. So you've got to be accountable to yourself. Weigh yourself daily. Go to the doctor, find out what your numbers are and what your risk factor is. So that's environmental for you in a nutshell. You can add a meal plan to that. Listen, boot campers, we'll talk about that in our orientation call, which is happening in 30 minutes. The next thing, so we've talked about genetic risk factors of obesity that we cannot change, that came from mom and dad. The next thing was the environmental, all these things in our environment that may be working against us, we have control over. And how does that play when it comes to metabolic reset and it comes to the hormonal change that happens when you lose weight? I'm going to tell you now. Behavioral changes, behavioral risk factors for obesity. You have full control over that. You do have full control. The way you behave, and the way you think about food, the way you think about exercise, and the way you think about anything will reflect on your body. Your actions and what you eat will show up on your body. There's no way around it. So you eat wrong, you behave wrong, you think and you're stressed all the time, it's going to show up on your body. For example, if those of you who are Africans, you're going to relate to this. I say, I'm going to have the cauliflower fufu. Some people say, stop. Don't do that. I'm going to say, I'll have my eru, which is an African vegetable with no oil. And some people say, well, that's not for me. Why not? This is something that you learned with time. So the behaviors that we have the ability, if we have the correct mindset, and if we have a growth mindset, which is one that's willing to learn and change with information, then we know that most of the things that we've learned through time, we can change. Your mindset is key. I'm telling you, hands down, number one thing that you must change when it comes to your behavior, and when it comes to how your lifestyle can change, the first thing that you must really adjust and change and be ready to adapt is your mindset, the way you look at exercise, the way you look at food, your relationship with food. Most of us want to celebrate, we go buy a cake and eat the whole cake. Most of us are stressed, we go buy some chocolate and drink that. Most of us come home tired, we get something. So you have to have a mindset change. Number two, your activity has to change. It must change. You must start exercising. I didn't say get up and run a marathon. I'm saying get a little bit active. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is why I keep exercising, because I've come such a long way. And I now know that if I lose 4 or 5 pounds, I'm losing 4 or 5 pounds, and 4 pounds or 5 pounds will be fat, and 1 pound may be a loss of lean muscle. What does that do? It causes down regulation of my basic metabolic rate. I lose lean muscle. It just makes it harder for me to keep losing weight, and then it makes it easier for me to gain weight. So I don't want to lose my lean muscle mass. Even my elderly patients, I encourage them to exercise. I never tell an elderly person, go walk 10 miles or go walk 1 mile. What I tell them to do is, listen, when you wake up and you do all the things that you want to do, you've got time now, it's about 10 o'clock, get 1 bottle or half a bottle, hold your water bottles in your hand, and just walk up and down your hallway for about 20 minutes. That's it. Do that 2-3 times a week for me. That's it. Listen, the older you are, the more important it is that you exercise. Again, don't get up and push yourself. You want to do things that are sustainable for you long term. Find something that you like and you can do consistently for a long time. Okay? Now, the next thing that plays a huge factor in that hormonal reset there is your habits. And I'm going to focus here for just a couple of minutes on habits. Now, our bodies constantly, this is the way we were formed by God. Our bodies constantly try to keep us safe, and they try to keep us happy. And so there's a nice little system in the brain called the mesolimbic system. This is our defense system. It keeps us happy, and it learns habits very quickly. So for example, if I come home from work and I'm tired and I sit down and have my dinner and I'm now resting and I sit on my couch, and then because I'm on the couch and I'm watching TV, I say, listen, well, you know what, I can just go in there and have a little bowl of ice cream. It's not bad, and I'll have that with, say, maybe just a little bit of fruit juice. And if I do that 2-3 times, my brain now learns to say, oh wow, wait a minute, this is something that she used when she was tired. So each time I come home and I sit on that couch, my brain is just going to automatically remember this input and this habit that I've developed, and now it's automatic and I'm not thinking about it. This is one of the reasons why it's difficult for us to break habits that put us in this condition of being overweight or obese. It's because now we have made the habits that bring us pleasure, and that mesolimbic system that is there to keep us comfortable, to keep us happy, has now learned the habit, and then it becomes difficult for us to change it. So what I tell my patients is this: if this is a habit that you have, and I tell them and I talk to them and I say, listen, what happens? What situation? What's happening? Because anytime that we start eating these comfort foods, of course, this is one of the biggest things that makes us gain weight. And then our hormones and our behavior and everything is set to keep us comfortable. So now we are doing this without thinking. I'm watching TV. Next thing I know, there's an empty bowl of ice cream in front of me and an empty cup of juice. And I'm thinking, why did I drink? I'm beating myself down. So I ask my patients about their habits, what they are doing, in what situation, because listen to this very carefully. Every habit that you have, when it comes to binge eating or when it comes to eating the wrong things, I want you to try to examine yourself. What are you doing around that habit? How are you feeling? Where are you? The only way and the most effective way of breaking a bad habit is not sitting here and thinking about it like, no, I'm not going to go to the fridge. No, I'm not going to go to the fridge. I'm going to hold strong. You can't do that every day. The easier thing for you to do is change the behavior. This is where the behavioral change comes. And sometimes people have to go to counseling for this. I do a lot of counseling in my clinic also when it comes to behavioral changes, and we call it intensive behavioral training for weight loss. And one of the things I tell patients to do is, if you have identified the situation, so you're tired, came home from work tired, that's one situation. The second thing that's paired up with that is sitting on this specific couch or this specific recliner. Then what I want you to do is, when you come home, do not sit in that recliner. Very important. You come home, go sit somewhere else. Now you've changed the script. Your brain is confused. It's not even thinking about taking you back to the refrigerator to get something that you were craving. So that's one of the ways to break that habit. If you have any questions, I want you to reach out to me and I can help you, give you a few more pointers on that. So change the habits. That's one of the behavioral changes that's very successful, because this hormonal reset is going to be here with us for the rest of our lives. We just have to do different things like the behavioral changes and the environmental cleanup that we have to do to be successful and keep the weight off long term. The next thing that I tell people, and this is my last, again, resistance training. Listen, resistance training for women comes with a nice side effect of having some nice muscle tone. I get it. I have women who say, I'm not going to pick up weights because I don't want to look like King Kong. Listen, you're never going to look like King Kong if you're not taking external hormones. So I don't recommend taking external hormones. But what I say is, women especially, and especially if you're 50s and above like myself, and many of us is here, you do want to pick up weight actively, consistently. Not only cardiovascular exercise, which is very helpful, but you want to add some resistance training to that, because again, it helps you build that muscle mass and it helps give you a nice tone. Remember that for every 4 or 5 pounds that you lose some lean muscle. So you don't want to get in a pickle. If you started off like me, my intention was to lose 70 pounds. I am 90 something pounds now, down. I've dropped 90 something pounds, less than what I was 3.5 years ago. I can't imagine how much lean muscle mass I would have lost if I was not consistently picking up weight. So that's my last advice for you, especially for you women. Again, obesity is a chronic medical illness. It's got 3 main factors. It's got several factors, but of course, the 3 main factors that we have identified that we work on and that we know of are the environmental factors, genetic factors, and behavioral factors. And because you cannot change your genetic factors from mom and dad were involved, and so you can never change that, you've got this other 2, your behavior and your environment, that you must continuously work on. And the reason why I started by telling you how that hormonal reset happens and how the metabolic reset happens is that these hormonal and metabolic reset and the changes that will happen, they will be there lifelong. You can't go in and change those hormones. That will always be there. So your job now is to work on the environmental factors, so what you've surrounded yourself with, your mindset, your shopping. You want to think about that consistently. And then also your behavior. Your body is the most precious thing that you have. And by the way, it's the only place that you have to live in, period. So you cannot afford not to take care of it. Don't take your body for granted. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, and I'm going to end and go on to boot camp. Boot camp orientation is happening in 30 minutes. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is that most of the times we have just so much negative self-talk. We discourage ourselves and tell ourselves, it's too hard, we can't do it, I'm not able, I just can't, I have no ability, on and on and on. So coming out of this talk, I want you to start giving yourself some positive self-talk. Tell yourself you can. That's the beginning. Give yourself some positive affirmations every single day. Yes, you can. Yes, you're powerful. You're able. You're beautiful. You're smart. And God put you on this earth for a mission. I want you to accomplish your mission in a healthy body. because God didn't create you in a sick body. He created you in a healthy body. And you and I am sure going to keep working and helping myself and others to stay healthy long term. So I want to thank you for watching and participating. If there are any questions, I will come back in the chat and answer your questions later on right here on this video. So come back and review the answers to your questions if you had any. And I thank you and have a fantastic and healthy 2021. I am convinced that 2021 will be your best year ever. Thank you. Bye.